Welcome to the 50th Greater Meadville Area Day. Yes, 50. This event's brought to you by the Economic Progress Alliance of Crawford County. 50 years, that speaks, I think, to the results this agency achieves each year, helping existing businesses grow and working to attract businesses to our area. Ultimately, with the goal to generate more jobs, as they said, jobs. But more about that later. I'm Bill DeArmond, and I'm honored to be here and serve as your Master of Ceremonies tonight. I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce some people who have taken precious time from their busy schedules to be with us. First of all, from the state, we have State Senator Michelle Brooks. Where is she? Representatives Park Wentling and Brad Roy, are they here? I know Brad's here. Okay. Commissioner Christopher Soff is here. All right. The Department of Community and Economic Development is a vital agency to our work in the Meadville area. And we have 3 people here tonight that have taken time to come and see us. And I understand they'll be visiting sites tomorrow. First is Scott Dunkelberger, Executive Deputy Secretary. Mr. Jared Lucas, Director of the PETA program. And Kim Thomas, who is Regional Northwest Regional Director. Mike Kelly is incoming, I'm told, but Sam Breen, his office associate's here. Media-wise, Keith Gushard from the Tribune's here. Where's Keith? No booze, please. The Erie Times is covering this. Also, the TV stations in Erie, ICU, WSEE, Jet 24. And also, Armstrong Cable is kindly taping this, so for those of you that enjoy seeing this sort of thing over and over and over, that's possible. I also want to introduce to you formally his first Greater Meadville Area Day is our new executive director, but he's not so new. He's been here for a year. Mr. Jim Becker. Where's Jim? And the fountainhead of all things Greater Meadville Area Day, the chairman of today's Greater Meadville Area Day Committee, Bonnie Kuhn. Where is she? Well, you're good, but you're not that good. In your program, there are 38 sponsors listed. Please thank them because they help secure this event for all of us. And there are 10 master sponsors who have really stepped up, and I'd like to list them by name real quick. Meadville Medical Center, Crawford Renewable Energy, C&J Industries, Lord Corporation, Accutech Precision Aerospace, Inc. Geez, Rob. Northwest Bank, Armstrong Cable, Chenalock, Inc., Kuhn Tool and Die, and Northwestern Rural Electric Cooperative. Thank you all and all the sponsors. So now I would like to call on Mr. Doug Peters, owner of Peters Heat Treating, Inc., a second-generation family-owned business established in, I think, 1979, employing about 45 people right here in Meadville, Pennsylvania, to give us the invocation. Doug?
Thank you, Bill. As I prepared the invocation this evening, it became aware to me that as I wanted to thank our Lord for all he gives us, that all I had to do was look around this room to find everything to be grateful for. And so would you please join me in asking our God for guidance for the next 50 years? And Lord, I hope that you have with you tonight all that have come before us as we pray to you for your forgiveness. Please accept our gratitude, and please give us the guidance to move forward for another 50 years. In your name we pray. Amen.
Here is Senator. I'm moving you up, Mike. I just promoted you. Congressman Mike Kelly, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Okay, we'll start the dinner. Bon appetit. Okay, so we move on to our speaker tonight, and it's my great honor to introduce Roger B. Willis. His curriculum vitae is in your program, but for purposes of the public coverage, I want to hit some of the highlight elements in there. Roger's a past president of Universal Well Services, Inc., now known as UPP, Universal Pressure Pumping, wholly owned subsidiary of Patterson UTI Energy, Inc. Roger graduated from Allegheny College in 1980 with a Bachelor of Science degree in geology. He began his career with Universal in 1984, holding a wide variety of positions before becoming president in 2008. Roger, along with a few Universal associates, saw the potential in the Marcellus sites, and with their help, the company developed the fracking procedures, and the company has now become one of the leaders in the evolving shale oil industry. A few of his professional affiliations include he's a past president of the Independent Oil and Gas Association of New York. He also belongs to the Society of Petroleum Engineers, where he has authored many papers on topics including well control for air drilling, geology and hydraulic fracturing diagnostics. Roger, I don't have a clue what that is. You're okay, Bill. Roger is now retired and lives in Meadville, Pennsylvania with his wife and children. He sits on the executive board of the Meadville Medical Center and on the board of directors at the Meadville Public Library. He's an avid cyclist, runner, and guitar player. His band is called 41 North if you need somebody to play a gig for you. We're not going to hear Roger talk about hydraulic fracturing diagnostics tonight. Rather, we're going to hear him talk about a vision he has had and been working on for several years to help solve a looming problem for the greater Meadville area, and I suspect for other towns. I want you to reflect for a minute on how Meadville was 45 years ago. Businesses were booming here. Talon Slide Fastener, American Viscose, Erie Railroad, Sunbeam Equipment Corporation, and on and on and on. All generating good, solid jobs, creating a higher standard of living and a larger tax base to help local governments and school systems meet their budgets, as well as making this area a desirable place in which to recruit leaders for your companies and for our young people to stay. Compare that to today's problems of keeping our youth here, the difficulty in recruiting good leadership for our town and for our local businesses. In short, how do we stem this negative tide and turn things around to make it easier to attract leaders, to attract businesses, and to generate many good-paying jobs, which is, by the way, the purpose of the Economic Progress Alliance. Roger is going to tell us his theory and his program. I think you'll find it very interesting on how he sees an opportunity to solve this problem of reinvigorating the Meadville community. Please welcome tonight's speaker, Roger Willis.
Thank you, Bill, very much. And it's He stole a little bit of my thunder there at the beginning. First of all, I got to say, there's a fellow in this room that's goal in life is to hit the speaker with a tomato. And he's over here, and so I've got Bonnie guarding him on one side and Clark on the other side, because Dick's warned me that that's one of his goals before he goes out, is he wants to throw a tomato. So if Clark or Bonnie, if you see him, oh no, stop him, okay? Anyhow, if you try and think, I mean, this is a real honor to be the speaker here. This is the 50th anniversary. This is wonderful. I mean, I'm really touched. I really am, and emotional about it too. But if you think about Dr. Winslow and you say, if he were to look forward 50 years from back when he got that award at the beginning, what would he see Meadville like? How do you envision that he would see Meadville? Okay, so I want you to put that undercurrent through my talk this evening and just think about that. Try and think about that. I've got one other thing you can indulge me is, how many people here have been to San Antonio and walked on Riverwalk? Okay. It's not a coincidence, but as far as I understand, that was a ditch about 50 years ago. Okay, that was a ditch about 50 years ago. It is an economic engine for that area. And so what I want to try and describe, and I'm not really going to read any notes, I just want to make sure that I don't miss certain parts, and I've got to acknowledge some people and some folks, is that, let me tell you the story, a little bit of story about Universal, because I think it's really fascinating, and I'll try and make this quick and then get into what I'm doing. But Universal started in 1980 over in Worcester, Ohio, had one crew. They opened up in Meadville, probably 83, I think it was, something like that, 81, and from there, Universal grew throughout the Appalachian Basin and had facilities in Ohio, West Virginia, multiple facilities in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Tennessee, and did a lot of work in New York, and occasionally went out west and did jobs. But we worked on these marginal wells. These were wells that you see all around here, the Clinton Medina wells and those kind of things. And they're marginal because their production would not exist if it wasn't for hydraulic fracturing. So that was our specialty, and we grew in that area, and we were a respected force in this area. A big change happened in probably 2002 or 2003. Some work started happening in what's called the Dallas-Fort Worth Basin, okay? And there was a rock formation down there, the Barnett Shale, which began to be investigated by a guy that's really sort of the grandfather of the whole thing, George Mitchell. And one of our friends in the business, a guy named Bill Zagorski, who was the chief geologist for a company called Great Lakes Energy Partners, which was later to become Range Resources. He came back from a trip down there and he said, you know something, I see a similarity between the Barnett Shale and a formation which every single well that sits around here drills through. And that was the Marcellus. To us, it's like, what? This is sort of a little nutty that we'd think about that. But he said, would you like to think about maybe doing some kind of stimulation on that? And luckily, we had this fantastic group of people, Mike Klecker, John Stansfield, Bill Stoner, that were there, that said, yeah, let's take a flyer on that. Now, the problem was we didn't have the equipment that was the size or the capability to do that work. So what we sort of did was we shut the company down and gathered equipment. John's laughing right now because it was pretty funny. We brought everything we could together because we wanted to try that. So on October 23rd, 2004, we stimulated the Wren's #1 well. That was the discovery well for the Marcellus Shale. At that point, I could think, and so did all of us, that maybe we were the guys holding the buggy whip because we'd worked on all these small wells around here. But here was this chance for something that was really big. And in 2006, they did the first horizontal well. And at that point, we knew we had to make a move. We had to do something. We had to bet the farm if we were still going to be around. Some of the buggy whips we had, people will probably still see it around Meadville and say, you know, you see these trucks parked in different places. Those are all the obsolete pieces of our past. Right now, Universal is enormous. I mean, we have a big presence I'm retired, but they have a presence in the Northeast up here, one of the most respected companies in the Marcellus, and also in the Permian Basin. And I'll tell you what, we feel very proud to be a company that's helped to usher in a change in America, really, where we have our own energy. We're not sending money overseas. I think the air is getting cleaner because of natural gas. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and we're proud to have been involved in that. But it wasn't always easy. When Universal started to grow, one of the things we realized was that those of us there, I mean, those guys are all smarter than I am, and I'll admit that right away, but we hoped to be able to work for the Chevrons of the world. And that was a huge step forward from the smaller companies we'd worked with on the past. And so we had to make a big step and say we need to bring in people that have expertise in things like compliance issues and HS&E issues and computer issues and working with satellites and pressures that were higher than we'd ever worked on. You know, we might have gone from 2,500 PSI pumping to maybe 14,000 PSI, and that requires a whole different fleet of trucks. Everything was different. But it was disheartening because when you'd bring some of those people into town and they'd say, wow, your company's growing, you've got neat technology, what great people you have, but I'm not sure if I can get my partner or my wife or my husband to move here. And that was really tough. Okay, so it wasn't easy, and it wasn't easy to build the company like it was. I was also lucky enough at some point, and I'm terrible with dates, everyone will tell you that, but to be involved in getting on the board of the Meadville Medical Center. What a fantastic organization. I mean, here's this organization in town here, which in light of all these changes going on in medicine, is trying to keep Meadville at the forefront of medicine. I mean, absolutely fantastic oncology, new buildings and things where other people are retreating. And in the course of that, I helped to recruit some people I tried to help to recruit, and we brought in great people. But I heard again that, well, this is great. I think the hospital's fantastic, and what you've done is great, but I'm not sure if I can get my husband, wife, or partner to move here. And so I started asking some friends, and luckily I've got the best friends in the world. I've started asking some friends, would you sort of get together with me and maybe we can brainstorm on what we might do to do something different here. Now, lots of wonderful things are going on in Meadville. I mean, we're blessed to have people doing things. You can see all kinds of changes in town. But what I wanted to do was to get folks together and say, let's take the balloon and let's loosen it up and take it up to 30,000 feet and try and say, what could we do now that might ultimately imprint the way the future looks here? And so another great friend, Matteo Ricciacchi, was nice enough to build us a conference room and a table upstairs in Voodoo. I really think that's the reason everybody joined me in this thing. I don't think it had anything to do with my vision. I mean, I'm smart enough to recognize that it was really probably that we have to really thank Matteo for doing that. But anyhow, this group of people right now, the Cassini satellite was flying around Saturn at the time, and I was reading the paper and saying, you know, we've got to name this group. It's not a board, it's not a committee, it's just a group of people. And so I thought of the name Saturn. So we called that group Saturn. That's where that name came from. And I'll let you know the folks that right now comprise the Saturn group, folks, that we would get together and discuss just sort of blue sky things that might help us change the fabric, that we could look back. This is not, and I have to say, not a 10-minute plan, but a 10-year plan, and maybe even longer than that. Remember, San Antonio, 50 years, for those of you that have been there, what a fantastic place. Jim Becker's the director of EPAC right now, and he's been great. His predecessor, Mark Turner, was one of the people that at the beginning when I said something to him, he said, let's figure out a way that this dynamo of the Economic Progress Alliance can help guide this whole project, because he thought it was worthwhile. So Mark was on, Jim's been able and has taken things and just taken it to another level too. Bill Bragg is on the team. He's president. Ron Cole, I'm not sure where Ron is. Maybe people put their hands up. Ron's the provost at Allegheny, and he's got absolutely incredible contributions. Brenda Kosta is the executive director of the French Creek Valley Conservancy. Brenda, are you in town here? Are you in? Okay. Brenda's over here. You know, for those of you that know, Jim Lang has done this incredible service to the area with the French Creek Valley Conservancy, and Brenda's doing a great job on taking that and just doing wonderful things to protect the creek and make it an engine for us. Dan Crandall's back in the back room here. He's the chairman of the Meadville Redevelopment Authority and owner of Fine Print. John DeArmond, president of Channel Lock. Jim Lang couldn't be here this evening. Andrew Lincoln is here with Lincoln Recycling. Jack Lynch and I spent a lot of time just sitting there literally over a beer saying, we've got to come up with something that's really different. How can we take this and really maybe push the level? Maybe we take the balloon up to 50,000 feet. So I owe an awful lot to Jack. Jim Miller's the regional director for the Department of Environmental Protection. Jim Mullen, where's Jim? Jim Mullen, Jim's right here. Jim's been absolutely a stalwart through the whole thing. He's the president of Allegheny. Philip Pandolf, the CEO of Meadville Medical Center. Meadville Medical Center, again, I can't say enough good things about that, but he's a visionary, he's a charger, and he has been so helpful to have on our group. Mateo, like I said, is one of the folks in town that has a vision and is doing things, and we're so happy to see the people that Voodoo's bringing into town. Rob Smith, who's the chairman of Accutech, he's a guy that thinks outside of the box. It's always wonderful. Like, he has these ideas. We'll see, why the heck can't we do this? And it was, I guess we can do that. I mean, why should we say we can't do that? So you need those people that sort of put the spurs to things and say, come on, let's make some changes. Let's shake some things up. The one guy, Jay Verno's on every committee and done everything that anybody could do. So we obviously could not do anything without Jay Verno being part of the team. Andy Walker is the city manager. Sue Wyckoff is with PNC Wealth Management and also has been, stuck her neck out a long ways with she and her sister for the woolen mill downtown. I think all of you that have shopped there have been in there. She did it right, and it's just so wonderful. So what we did is that group got together and said, okay, we could do a couple things. We could come up with a pretty picture and show a pretty picture, and then everybody'd say, when are you going to do that? Why don't you have that done? And we got some great advice from our congressman who really came up, and I'll tell you, we've had Michelle Brooks, Brad Roy's here, Park Wentling, who's another cyclist that, I love the cyclists in town, I like to ride. Anyhow, one thing that, and I keep erring on this, I call him Mike, sorry. No, that's fine. He sat in the meeting with us, and Rob Smith said, I don't think I've ever seen a politician sit that long without looking at his watch. And he took notes and made great comments and had his chief of staff with him and others. And, he said, this is refreshing to see a 10-year plan and not a 10-minute plan. And from that point, we said, I think the idea that we should do right now is, rather than come up with the design and have the pretty picture, what we need to do is to say, let's do the foundational groundwork so that other people can help paint this picture, because it would be a folly for us to say we knew the best thing to do. Because we've got a community here. We've got a community that's filled with an awful lot of people. So what we started to do, under the auspices of Jim and Angela, who's just been incredible in keeping us all on track. I got to give a hand to Angela here. Angela Annabelle. Done a great job. Every Monday morning we meet, and we meet different people, and we look at different pieces, whether it's financial. Another person here said to me at the very beginning, great counsel. How are you going to pay for the doggone thing? I'm using a different word. But so we had to go through and say, we have to answer an awful lot of questions to make this thing really work. And so one of the first things we needed to do was to get some studies done. We talked to bankers, financiers, and other people, and they said, developers, they said, what you need to do is you need to do the demographics. So we decided, well, we hired a firm, Derrick and Edson, that did work for the city, also did work for Allegheny, and they did some absolutely amazing stuff here. They did the drive sheds, which are things which show us what the population is, all the demographics that we needed to demonstrate, do we have a viable market here? Do we have something that if we had the right reason for people to come, is there money around us? Are we in the right place? And it turns out we discovered that we're at the confluence of several major trade areas, things that developers and outsiders would say, boy, they're in the right place. We've got a great artery that comes down 79, and we've got people coming from Canada. We've got all kinds of things. We've got this environmental treasure of French Creek. So why don't we see if we can start out and see what are the building blocks we need? Well, one of the building blocks we needed was some way to honor the people, and so that our kids could come and say, why are we even here? Why did the Native Americans start here? And why did George Washington follow? And why did so-and-so follow? And why did these big businesses build here? And we need a place that our kids can see that, because my initial charge to that whole team was, I want you to think selfishly. You got to think selfishly. We're not talking about altruism here. What do you need here? Philip, what do you need? Andy, what do you need? What do you need? And what I need is a reason that my friends want to come to visit and that my kids want to come back and live here or visit me, instead of saying, hey, let's go to meet someplace else, because we have all the right parts here. We have all the right parts here. So if we had this cultural nucleus along the creek, so we looked at the buildings that are available and things, and happily, Economic Progress Alliance, for those of you who know where that building is, between Voodoo and sort of PMI, it's right on the creek there. It's a great place. Half of it is still an old, like the railroad building with these huge beams and openings that we could bring in the bicycle trails, we could bring in kayaking, we could have restaurants down there, we could do all manner of economic development. Now, that's what they do. That's what they do. That's the piece. So start to imagine now what that might look like if you're Allegheny College and you're trying to bring in a student and their parents and you say, hey, let's go down. The student can say, oh, Voodoo, that's really cool. We can have a place to have a cup of coffee and a piece of pie or something there. We'd have this space where maybe Allegheny students were working in the creek, the biology and environmental science students working in the creek, and they're saying, boy, that's an opportunity that they can do that they maybe can't do anyplace else. And they see people kayaking by and riding their bicycles by. Maybe we put a music venue in there. Ron Cole has said, boy, that would make this area just so cool if we had an amphitheater of some sort down there. Imagine if we had a building that was connected to it, a glass building where we could open the doors up and have all manner of really incredibly cool events that occur there and have that the sort of the focal point. Okay, on top of that, we're really lucky right now is that concurrent with some of this stuff, there was a group of people that got together under and I'm probably going to butcher this up a little bit, but the Orton family out of Vermont took on the responsibility of trying to say, how do you build what is the cultural legacy of a town? How do you put that? So they start to interview people, and Autumn's not here. She could explain it better, but they did this wonderful job of going out and sort of canvassing the community, because if this is going to work, it's going to be all of us. It's not going to be just a few people that are going to design this. This has to be everybody. And they've just recently come out with their community action plan. And I'm really happy to see, if those of you that don't know about it, you ought to find out about this. This is neat. This is the result of talking to lots of people. And they're completely coherent with what we want to do, with what, and they're part of the team right now. So Elizabeth Smith has waded into this and has been very helpful on this. They value a community that supports and nurtures local businesses in our downtown. Education, they value a community, local education system. Imagine how we can partner with Allegheny, we can partner with local businesses. There are models that we've looked at that are throughout the country of museums that are hands-on, where we can have local businesses such as Accutech explain to young people why this is such a wonderful business to be in, and how they can learn and how they can prosper from that. So the goal would be to say, let's put all these pieces together along with a transportation hub down there. It would be really nice. One of the things that they identified was that we value a convenient and flexible local transportation system that makes important places accessible for all residents. For those of you that have been watching the transformations with CATA, what a great job they've done. I mean, it's fantastic. The buses have people in them. Tim Geibel continues to push the frontiers of that, so now they're going to connect to Titusville, and we're going to have an effective transportation piece. Wouldn't that be wonderful if that could be partly down there? Last but not least, I got to say thanks to Kevin Pipp. I sat out in his his kitchen, and we drew some things up and came up with the idea of, and I'm not going to show this, but there's so much that we've done that I can't tell you about just because we don't have time and you've all eaten a heavy meal and you're going to fall asleep. And Dick is warming up with he's going to throw shrimp at me. Wait a minute. Okay. It was supposed to be a tomato, but I think people will remember if you throw shrimp too. So anyhow, one thing we thought about was, why don't we put a golden pathway that starts down at the creek, moves up by the Baldwin Reynolds house, comes up by Allegheny. We can have kiosks along there that show what the community's doing, that can explain to people, that people can look at those things. We can bring that through by the Tar Mansion, by the Diamond, and then bring it down Arch Street and Chestnut Street to showcase the businesses and provide this pipeline. We've met with city planners. We've met with people to say, if we site parking here, how do we take care of this infrastructure? Again, I don't want to really bore everybody with this, but it is, I think, a vision that so many people, we started out with the Saturn, now we've got sort of the rings of Saturn as we've talked to other people. And the next step right now is, I think people have passed out some cards here. The next, what you'll see is, and what I want to do, okay, all right, well, I'm going to start to ask some of the people from the Saturn team to start to pass out some cards, because if we're going to make this work, It's got to be all of us. It can't just be a few people. And what I want to do and what we want to do is to reach out to everybody in the community and say, we've got these areas that we're developing right now. And so on the card it'll say, I'm in. And hopefully, let me make sure, Bill, I've got mine right there. Okay, we can just pass these around here too. The French Creek Environmental Heritage and Entertainment Project. Imagine if we had that along the creek. It's going to mean shifts in things. We've got businesses down there. We've got questions about funding. We've talked to people that are experts in the field of doing this exact thing, you know, because we've never done this before. And one thing that they've told us, and this sort of in the back of my mind and the back of the whole project has been Bill's words, which are wise, which is how do you pay for the thing? And some of the experts in this field, and luckily we've been able to talk to them, said, if you just walk around and stick your hand out and say, Denny, I need some money, Denny's going to say, whatever. But if you come up with a vision and it's coherent with what the whole community wants, the funding has never been a problem. Okay? That's not our problem. Our problem is to make sure that we come up with something, a plan with this clay that we have right now that has all of your fingerprints in it when we fire this pot, that everybody's involved in. And I think the opportunities here, like I said, I probably have left things out. There's so much that we've done, and Angela and Jim will say, you forgot to tell them about this, and you forgot to tell them about that. But I hope what you've heard is enough to interest you into saying, I'd like to participate in that. I'd like to lend my expertise, my area of specialty. I'd like to spend some time, because I think it's really important that all of us do have our children want to come back and spend time with us. They want to be in this area. They want to come back and visit. And I think we have all the components to do that if we work together. And I think like I said, that analogy of French Creek and saying, you know, San Antonio, if you look what's happened in other areas, we've got one close to us, Westfield. You know, Welch's used to be there. When Welch's finally said, we can't bring in professional management, they moved out. They moved to Concord. They took everybody out of there, and that was a big loss for that community. We can see the same thing happening in Meadville. If you've got family-run businesses that want to be professionally managed, but they have to have their headquarters someplace else because they can't get people to come to town to manage it, that has severe consequences in a lot of different ways. And if we don't act and we do this, we're at a tipping point. I think that, like Bill described, we've got to have the youngest and the brightest come to work with us on this. We have to have the people that are here say, I really want to stay there. And we have to support businesses like Sue's and all the other, you know, Julie McClymon's business downtown and the restaurants and things here. And we only do that with people and people that have jobs and people have money to spend. And so I sort of want to finish up on that. I think there's a couple people, I'm going to wander around. Hopefully you all has everybody gotten a card? I'm trying to think how we can get these cards to everybody, because I really would hate it if you left the room and said, boy, I didn't get a card. I think like I said, we're lucky. You know, I'm afraid I can't get this out without breaking it. I was going to ask Philip and I was going to ask Jim to make just some, maybe you can just yell out some of your comments, Jim, I think. Just.
Thank you, Roger. I think the first thing I'd like to do on behalf of everybody here is say thank you to you, because you're the vision, you're the person who created this vision, and all of us in this community owe you a great debt.
Oh.
I guess all I would say is on this 50th anniversary year, this is the 203rd year of Allegheny College. We are intimately connected to this community, and we believe that there are those times that a community has an opportunity that doesn't come along again, and I think this is just that kind of opportunity. If we do this right, generations 50 years from now are going to thank us for doing it right. And I think the stars are aligned right now for this community, and I know Allegheny College is 100% committed to seeing the success of this project, and we're honored to be part of it. And I hope that all of us will step up at this moment in time so that those generations down the road will say thank you to us. Thank you, Roger.
Oh, Jim, thanks so much. Well, again, I can't tell you how honored I am to be here. I think Like I said, I'm sure that Dr. Wilson at one point was trying to think of what the future would be like, and I see a fantastic future for Meadville and the region, because I think we've got all these components that are just so incredible. Like I said, I love to ride and cycle in this area. I love all the friends I have here, and I would love to bring other people into the community to help us take this to the next level. So at any rate, hopefully everybody, if you don't have a card, it's so easy to find the Economic Progress Alliance. Please, we need your support, and I think 50 years from now, when our kids look back at this, they'll say, wow, that was really cool. That was really cool. So anyhow, thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate your attention.
Don't go away.
Okay, what you do is bring them up to the table here, and we'll collect them. I guess I didn't tell you that the next part is to professionally look through these. We're going to collate them and make sure that we build focus groups that work back so that we're all pushing our oars in the same direction, so that we can all work together. We'll have the hub in the center talk about what's going on and get that information back. And as you can see, there are lots of different categories that people can participate in. So.
Great job, Roger, and that beats the heck out of hydraulic fracturing diagonal. This is a token of our appreciation.
Whoa! Does anybody have a straw? I need it right now.
Oh, no straws. No straws.
That's right. No straws aren't environmental, sorry.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah. So how about that for a vision, huh? Okay, so now I want to call on Bill Bragg, President of the Economic Progress Alliance, to present the Winslow Award.
Oh, I got a lot more than that to do. First, I'll remind you, remember it's County Fair Week coming up, and 3 more weekends for Conneaut Lake Park. We're healthy, we're doing great, people are having fun out there, and we just have 3 weeks to go. And as you all know, and have probably been celebrating, Monday was National Left-Handers Day. You right-handers get the other 364, but anyway, there wasn't a lot of celebrating there. Anyway, first of all, before we get to the award, we always introduce the past award winners, the ones that are here. I'd like them to stand and remain standing when I call their name. We'll give them a round of applause when we're finished. Charlie Anderson. There's Charlie. Richard Burkhart. When we're finished, don't you gotta listen. Richard Burkhart. Dennis Frampton. Is Dennis here? Clark Hoffman. He's here. My partner on the gold tees today, the crafty veteran Rob Smith. Bill DeArmond.
Gold teeth.
Jim Mullen. Is Vicki Leap here representing Vic Leap? James Duratz. And then also companies get this presentation at time. Channel Lock, are you going to represent Channel Lock, or is John going to do that? John, get up. Allegheny College, Jim's already on his feet. C&J Industries, I guess Dennis isn't here. Oh, we have someone? Meadville Medical Center, Philip. Westbury United Methodist Retirement Community, Bryant. Lord Corporation. Oh, Larry's here. Northwestern REC. We didn't have names on these. Armstrong, right here in front of us. Working man. And Universal Well Service. That's it. Let's give them a big round of applause. These are past winners. For any of you who don't know, the Winslow Award was first presented in 1969, aforementioned 50 years ago. to Dr. Harry Charles Winslow in recognition of his 85th birthday, and has been named in honor of Dr. Winslow ever since. He was a local physician, businessman, and community activist who was instrumental in the organization of many local businesses and charitable organizations. He has set the standard in this area for community and economic service that all Winslow winners are compared to. The Winslow Award honors the group, individual, business, or industry that has made a significant contribution to the economic growth of the greater Meadville area. Tonight, I have the distinct privilege of announcing the 2018 award winner. Our recipient is a graduate of Meadville High School. As the salutatorian of the class, an accomplished violinist with the Erie Junior Philharmonic, was also a member of the All-East U.S. Orchestra and played in Carnegie Hall, and was the starting center midfielder for the Meadville Bulldogs soccer team. Our recipient graduated from Harvard College with a BA in Economics and Mathematics, spent the junior year attending the London School of Economics, worked a number of summers as an intern at Accutech Precision Machining, and worked for 3 years in Washington, D.C. as an econometric analyst for the aerospace and defense practice of Charles River Associates. After Charles River, went on to earn an MBA in manufacturing operations from the Tauber Institute for Global Operations at the University of Michigan, graduating in 2009. After obtaining an MBA, accepted a position in the Operations Leadership Program with United Technology Corporation, rotating through their aerospace divisions, holding positions at Pratt & Whitney, Hamilton Sundstrand, and Sikorsky Helicopters. After OLP, spent 2 years as manager on the Black Hawk Medevac helicopter assembly line for Sikorsky. In mid-2013, our recipient left Sikorsky and was enticed to return to Meadville, taking the position of Director of Strategic Operations at Accutech Precision Machining, later moving into the position of Quality Director, and since 2014 has been the President, CEO, and major owner of Accutech Precision Aerospace. Under this president, Accutech has grown another 33% and added 90 employees. They expect another 20% growth in the next 2 years and should take employment at Accutech in Crawford County above 500. We are, in fact, the Economic Progress Alliance is involved right now in about 100,000 square foot addition for them, on top of their 180,000 square foot of manufacturing they already have. Accutech Precision Aerospace has become one of the world's leading privately owned aerospace and power generation. Page was lost. I was going into opioids there. Power generation components and sub-assembly companies. In 2016, our recipient was a STEP Award winner honored in Washington, D.C. by the Manufacturing Institute. In the past 2 years, our recipient has done such things as served on a panel for manufacturing, cybersecurity for the Aerospace Industry Association, sharing the podium with such companies as Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and Lockheed Martin. Recently was on an Allegheny College economics panel on the opioid epidemic, and will be on a panel at IMTS in Chicago this fall using data in manufacturing. A member on the board of the Crawford County Heritage Foundation, and also the board of corporators for Penn State Barron and the board of corporations for the Economic Progress Alliance. Also participates in a number of community development organizations. Now, you may have noticed that we've been very clever in hiding the gender of our recipient, rather clumsily too, by the way, so that you couldn't possibly guess who it might be. That's just a little aside. We'll get back to the business here. Our recipient is also co-owner of Logic and IT manufacturing, software development, and finally, in her spare time, she gave birth to daughter Sophia. That gave it away. I missed that one. I was going to change all the genders to it, but it did. When I gave this to my wife, talked about it. It didn't sound right. Anyway, she gave birth to her daughter Sophia just this last October. Our recipient, her wife Mariana and their daughter Sophia reside in Meadville. It is my distinct privilege to announce our 2018 award winner, Elizabeth Smith. We need you to stay up here too. Ready? You can say a few words if you'd like.
I don't know that we have time for any more words. I apologize. I was also a First District graduate, and yeah, shout out to First District.
I didn't put the date, so you wouldn't
Public
know right
schools
off
all the
that it was
way.
you.
That's right.
Yeah. And my daughter will be attending First District when she turns 6 or whatever age that is. We're just taking it day by day. Thank you. I guess it's all downhill from here. Yeah. I wouldn't be here but for my parents attending Allegheny College and meeting there. So I'm indebted to this community, and I left quite happily when I graduated high school, never really intending to return, and really just have seen other cities around the world, and decided that, Meadville's a really great place. It's where I want to raise my kids. I convinced Mariana to move here from Brazil. And she's having a blast here and really enjoying being part of the community. I'm incredibly surprised. I thought that maybe someday it would be cool if Accutech won. I still think it would. But yeah, I've been really excited about what's going on in the community. I'm raising a daughter here and future kids here, and I want them to hopefully go out and then come back. I think it's a fantastic community. I moved here when I was 12, so I lived a lot of other places before moving here, and I've felt like we've been welcomed here, and I'm happy to say that I'm from here, and especially since I was born in Akron, Ohio. And it's Ohio. I'm a PA girl all the way. So thank you very much. And I will say Accutech is recruiting nationally now through our AccuVets program. We are working with veterans to transition into civilian careers at Accutech here in Crawford County. We actually we have somebody right now moving from Michigan to Erie, actually, and commuting down. And then we're also going to be recruiting nationally for experienced machinists, because frankly, most experienced machinists here are happily employed. So heads up, students, that's a really good job to have. And we don't want to take people from the other employers in the area. There's lots of great employers that are good fits for lots of different people. But we want to bring people to Crawford County, bring experienced machinists. We're specifically targeting companies that have been acquired by investment banks or large conglomerates, where they might have worked for a guy like Rob Smith, who didn't have a second generation owner, has retired to Florida. The new owners in town carry clipboards around and talk about costs and Chinese manufacturing, and people get nervous. And we want to convince them to move to Crawford County, to live here, to work here, and retire at a job where they know that it's not going anywhere. Accutech is very proud of the fact that we're headquartered in Crawford County, and we'll continue to be there for a very long time. So thank you very much.
I'd like to call on Scott Dunkelberger to come up. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Stay here, Elizabeth.
Trying to get away.
Trying.
Okay, so this is the thing that we want to do here.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have a note from the governor that they've asked me to read to all of you. But before I do that, I just want to say that I've been coming to this event for a very long time, and then this is the one event that I do just about every year. And tonight, it really sort of hit home with me why, and it is so uplifting to come to a community that has such great local leadership, uncommon local leadership. We deal all over the state, and you've got that in Meadville. And it's a pleasure to have been able to help you all accomplish some things for a very long time. But don't take that for granted. And the things that Roger said couldn't have hit it more right on the head. All right, it's an issue. Pennsylvania's getting older, our workforce is getting older, and it's not just something that'd be nice to do. It's something that we have to do. We have to do, and so I applaud you for that plan. So, from Governor Wolf, greetings. It's my pleasure to join the Economic Progress Alliance of Crawford County to welcome everyone gathered for the 50th Annual Greater Meadville Day. Initiated in '69 by the former Meadville Area Industrial Commission, Greater Meadville Area Day was started to commemorate the 85th birthday of Dr. Harry C. Winslow, a business leader, surgeon in the Meadville area. The Economic Progress Alliance's goal to promote and enable sustainable economic growth for Crawford County is truly admirable. Dr. Harry C. Winslow's civic-minded activities, compassion, stewardship, and dedication to the Meadville area exemplifies the Commonwealth's traditions and values and will continue to be an inspiration to our Commonwealth for years to come. I'm certain that this event will continue to commemorate his contributions and promote the economic growth of the greater Meadville area. As governor, on behalf of all the citizens of the Commonwealth, I am thrilled to welcome everyone gathered today. Please accept my best wishes for a memorable event, and also congratulations to this year's Winslow Award winner. Thank you all.
Thank you, Scott. Nice words from you and from the governor. And congratulations to Elizabeth again. Wonderful award, wonderful company. Even though your dad is still around, probably sticking his nose in your affairs once in a while. I've been there. Two quick housekeeping issues. On your program, there are a lot of sponsors listed. One of them was Kim Flynn, who sponsored the T signs. She designed the pamphlet and forgot to thank herself. And also Mr. Burkhart, who always wants to get his name mentioned in this thing, designed a logo for that thing, the 50th anniversary logo. So nice job, Dick. So I would like to take a moment to thank the board of directors and the staff at the Country Club of Meadville. It's not the Meadville Country Club, it's the Country Club of Meadville. And Pro Mike Ferry for allowing us to use this facility and golf course, and for presenting a great dinner. I'd also like to recognize the work of the Economic Progress Alliance staff working on today's event. Angela Annabelle, Sarah Fate, and Becky Smith. Where are they? They're over here someplace. A lot of work goes into pulling this event together, so thank you very much. Last, I want to thank all of you for attending tonight. We hope to see all of you again next year for the 51st Greater Meadville Area Day. And remember to vote on November 6th. It's very important to all of us. Remember that Pericles said, just because you do not take interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take interest in you. So you need to vote. Having said that, we're adjourned and good night.